this morning we'll be talking about advertising, just like we mentioned earlier on. Before that, let me say good morning going out to all our folks at Hallmark Cafe. One more time, thank you so much for the jollof and what cereal?
Jollof and boneless goat.
Boneless goat.
Not goatless bone, no.
Not goatless bone.
Boneless goat.
Boneless goat. Charlie, it was good, man. It was good. I loved it. Honestly, I loved it. The meal was good. I'm not saying this just because, we have a partnership and agreement with them as well, but just for the fact that the food is really good and you should go and try it out. If you haven't, you should really go and try it out. You can find, what's the best way to describe where Hallmark is? My brains are pretty bad.
Down the road.
Perez
Dome. So just before the Perez Dome, the Allied filling station on your right.
Empowerment.
After Empowerment.
So between Empowerment and Perez Dome, the Allied filling station.
The Allied filling station, you'll find them right there. So our big conversation this morning is creativity while being lost in the digital age of advertising, or more like, has advertising lost its touch in recent times? We'll be digging in deep as well. Later on, our head of commercials will be joining us, Mr. Edmond Owusu. Edward Owusu.
The DKB is Headward.
Headward. Yeah, Headward, right?
Yeah.
I know he's doing a watching right now.
Hello.
Edward Owusu. Let me be.
Affectionately called Santo.
Affectionately called
Santo.
Santo.
Yes.
I didn't say it to Eddie. I didn't say it. It's them. Well, he will join us later on the show as well for the conversation on this, looking at advertising and how advertising is as we speak. Now, in some years back, I don't know about you, Shula, but some many years ago. Many years ago. Post-independence, right? I came into the world of advertising with the idea that I wanted to do certain kinds of radio commercials. I wanted to be some dada baby, I wanted to be some wavy. So I remember in writing scripts, we were more focused on the beauty and creativity, the finesse, the style, the language, the mood of the commercial. And we were rather hoping that people would admire and appreciate the creativity behind the work. But the industry we came to meet in Ghana clearly changed us. The industry taught us certain lessons that you have to do what the people want, and you don't have to do something that would change the people. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to change the mindset of the people with the kinds of communication that we're putting out there in advertising. I'm speaking specifically for, let's say, radios only, not necessarily visuals. Mm-hmm. But what we came to meet, we realized that the industry, the stakeholders, the players in the game, the gatekeepers, were the ones who were dictating what the masses would want. So we didn't get the chance to be able to penetrate the way we wanted to penetrate. So the industry changed us. That, listen, do you want money? If you want money, if you want to feed and you want to eat,
results.
If you want results, then you have to play by what we want. So it then stifled our creativity and even how we were thinking and how we were writing, what we wanted to write about, how we wanted to advertise products. It just changed everything, and we're completely overpowered. Now, years on, look at how digital media has come to open up the game, that now people would jump into and give 1 billion views to a video that was not even shot with the best of cameras, the wildest ideas, but just for its quote-unquote foolishness or stupidity or disruptive beauty, it goes viral. Whereas the beautiful video you shot with the 8K, 22,000K cam and all results would not get the appeal that you're looking for. But even in that, still, some clients would fall for that. Now, this is the world that we are in. I don't know what you have to add on to this. For Serial, who's coming from an advertising background.
I think you got it spot on, Charlie. The world has changed a lot. And I think we all stepped into advertising with that Western mindset, that Yankeefied expectation of advertising, of going to do amazing communications and funny, creative stuff that will get people going, wow, how did they come up with that? But, shortly you realize that there's a big hurdle, or there's a series of hurdles that make it very difficult to achieve that. The biggest hurdle being the audience. The second hurdle being most of the time the corporate bottlenecks. And the corporate bottlenecks are either what you find in the personnel there in their own direction for their brands, or sometimes with financing. Budget no day. It's a song that every agency has heard their clients sing.
Since the 60s.
Since. So, I mean, you got it right. And social media or digital media came and opened up the world to everybody. Now, advertising doesn't need to start from a brief and go through all the refinement to get to a prime idea that's going to communicate anything. You're selling men's boxers and briefs, take pictures, put it on Instagram, boom, advertised, right?
It's interesting you said that, because we touched on the era of creating proposals, the big idea on paper, or let's say on your laptop or your desktop or whatever it is, and PowerPoint, and doing that big awesome presentation, selling that idea. I don't know if we've come out of the woods on that yet, but it's still very active. Yeah, it's still very active.
It's still active.
But like you said, like, I want to sell boxes.
Yeah, you want to sell boxes.
Forget your long idea. Instagram day, Facebook post as sponsored post day.
Yeah.
Is that to say the big ideas don't work, the plans don't work?
Big ideas work.
Is that what you're saying?
But social media or digital media has made it very easy for people to go straight into execution without defining or developing the big idea. So you have a lot of brands that are online that just execute. And these are smaller brands. But when you have your big brands, which are your multinationals, your conglomerates, your whatever, you end up having to go through that big idea process regardless, even though you are going to execute in digital space.
Exactly, because then there's the need for that. There's the need for the plan. So, I mean, even with some of these really small brands as well, I think that there's the need to do the plan on a smaller scale, because then you're able to outline if you are going to do whether on-ground marketing, you're going to do digital marketing, you're going to do ATL, you're going to do BTL, whatever it is you're going to do. I think that by all means, there's a need for a plan, whether you're a small brand or a big brand.
I like what you said. The disruptive nature of digital media has honestly changed the game in how we create now.
There's no middleman anymore.
Because the big idea, I mean, like you said, I don't remember recall the last time there was a commercial that was like the big idea that a brand put out there that we saw the impact even beyond into the gray area where they were not even probably looking out for, and it caught our attention. Like how we have back in the day adverts that we are all singing to those ads now, and I'm singing to viral videos that were shot by Cinema and Leila and Dr. Laiki and what's the Nigerian guy's name? What's his name?
Mr. Makoni?
Sabinus.
And brands have become,
now.
Should I say cautious or scared? It's a thin line between fear and caution for the brands, because one, your average brand now in Ghana has so many competitors. And your competitors are going direct and speaking very functionally to their audience, trying to sell products and service on its merits and on its features and its experience, not on abstracts, not on creativity, not on mind-blowing executions that might not necessarily give you a pound for pound what it's all about. We've seen great ads that tend to have nothing to do with the main function of what they're selling, but just want to entertain and arouse your interest because you will follow up and you will do the needful. That type of advertising is slowly getting phased out because the brands don't want to risk taking those steps and then falling short. One, our audience is not as developed as we think.
We'll be talking about our audience.
Those of us who are, who are on this tangent or can understand the world of advertising and appreciate some more abstract or in-depth communications. We are not the masses. For the masses, you need to go quite functional. As much as creativity is tied in there, even the creativity is at its most basic level because you are trying to tap into insights from the audience. Now, every communications taps into insights from the potential audience. But what you have when you are doing mass market communications is that you are very limited in how you communicate your findings on that insight. So if you were to find out that people love to, maybe you are selling fufu powder, and you know that fufu is an after church thing, right? And a little kid doesn't like going to church, but he knows that fufu comes after church. So he becomes the mascot for the house for going to church. He wakes up at dawn, polishes daddy's shoes, blah, 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 just to get to fufu at the end. Even in how you execute that, it must not be too refined. Because the extent to which you refine that idea alienates a total demographic. If you refine it too much, you are in Cantonment's Laboni.
Exactly.
You need to tune it down so that it can go to Abusoka and Makola.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
So based on that point you just said, and this is one thing that I've always wanted to discuss with creatives, that have we creatives done a disservice by undermining the intelligence of the masses?
I think it depends on the brand. You know, there are some brands that just want to go mass.
Yeah,
right?
but in
That's
going
their
mass,
target. They want to go
in
mass.
going mass, you see what Cyril said? That's the clearest definition that you can get of how creatives would perceive the masses to tone down the communications finesse.
I think
so.
so.
That they will grasp it. But there's formal education, there's informal education. And
semi.
And for so many years, creatives have developed, because the things we put out there educate the masses too. Okay, so for example, there's going to be a national election, and they want to I don't know, maybe a national election. There's going to be a census, or in fact, there's going to be vaccination, and they want to educate the masses on it, on what is going to happen and why you should. It is assumed that the intelligence of the masses is at a certain point, lower than the average. So understanding will be difficult.
Yeah.
Hence, you see that the way the communication is done is so cheap.
Yeah. It's watered down.
It's watered down.
It doesn't
It's
look
so
well
cheap,
thought
which
through.
is fine, but the style. Forget about the message in the advert. The style in which is being put out, is being done in terms of graphics and all is so demeaning.
Yeah.
That you sit back and what a serial will say is that so why would they do this thing?
Yeah.
But for
Who
them,
did
it's
this
working.
logo?
But you see,
Well,
the irony
I
is for
think
them,
that I
for them
totally
it works
understand.
because for the audience, as much as it's watered down, it might not look as refined as we would expect or we know we are capable of as creatives. What creatives also need to understand is that your client is running a business, and your client will choose the understanding of his audience over the dexterity of your creativity. You can be the most creative
Yesterday,
whatever.
based on what you're saying, yesterday, International Women's Day is coming next week.
Yeah.
I was in a conversation with a client who wants a female personality. Okay? I'm sure if this goes, anyway, I'm not mentioning names, so it's fine. Who wants a female personality to champion the day for their brand? And I said that let's be disruptive and go with a male. But clearly, the person didn't see the idea behind it. If I encounter an agency that was supposed to do a campaign for a certain phone brand, and the big idea was to sell the phone camera, the front camera, and they shot the phone to space to take a selfie of the Earth. You see, when I tell you the idea, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I can imagine telling a client that let's take a selfie of the Earth. I'm sure you look like,
But that's disruptive.
what are you saying? We should take a selfie of the Earth. But the big idea is the camera can capture as
All
big
of us.
as all of us. You understand? So if I present an idea, a creative idea of let's twist it and celebrate the woman, but from a man's perspective, because the reason why we are appreciating the woman on that day is because of how men. There's no other gender.
You see,
of how men
And that's
have
awesome.
the problem.
That will work.
So
okay, go.
well, yeah, so of how
let
men
me go.
have perceived women, and that's the reason why we are amplifying the works of a woman. If there were only women on this earth, there would be no point in celebrating Women's Day.
Day, yeah.
You understand? So it comes from understanding, like it comes from how ready are you to test the intelligence of the masses, but not try to use your creativity to undermine their intelligence by putting something out that is cheap
I think
and
there's a
normal and everyday.
There's a communication gap. The problem I have realized over all these years is that most of the clients or the brands are represented by marketing teams, and marketing focuses on strategy. Right? Marketing is strategy led. Marketing is about insights, data, understanding the market, and what path to carve through to get your sales and your engagement done. advertising brings to life whatever findings the marketers or the marketing team deems fit. And 99.9% of the creatives are in advertising. So when your client brings to you an International Women's Day brief, right, he is thinking that how many of our consumers are women? If our consumers see themselves in this ad, does it reinforce our brand? We've not done anything for women since last year, so this would be a way to refresh their memory and to, kiss up to them again, blah, 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 blah. You took it from an advertising perspective where you led with creativity, right? And that's where the gap is, because they are thinking about ticking the boxes of insight, of strategy, of sustainability. They are thinking about business. They are thinking about the business end of things.
But again, it depends on the brand, is what I'm saying. Like, from what the brand wants, that's what you should do. Because again, when the marketing people go out to get, when the marketing people go out to get their insights based on whatever their target is, when they bring those insights, like you were saying, when these advertising people pick the insights from the marketing people, then they are able to curate these ads based on whatever insights these marketing people have gone in for.
If we don't force and change the narrative, there's always that fight between the brand, the finance
and
the market department, the marketing department, and then the
target
audience, and then the creative, and I feel like we've done that for so long. Let me be a bit blunt and say, for example, so recently, about 2-3 years ago, I saw a huge billboard, grand size, of a certain mosquito spray commercial. And they had drawn the mosquito in some wavy and some things. And I said to myself that, look, it's nice to play around with an animated mosquito, okay? However, what message do you carry to? Clearly, I feel you have downplayed the intelligence of not because they're animated, but the whole arrangement of everything on there. I questioned it. Because we advertisers, we creatives are supposed to help grow people, because we are putting things on screen. Let's look at 3 Music, for example. You admire the studio. It's somebody's creativity, so it has forced us to up the game. Anybody else, and I'm bragging, anybody else who wants to build a studio would want to make reference to 3 Music Studio and say that, Charlie, if I do, I'm nicer than 3 Music Studio.
Or like 3 Music Studio.
Or like 3 Music Studio, because we have upped the game. We've changed the level. So we've introduced a certain type of podcasting that people are experiencing, and they're warming up to it, and brands are looking at it again and going like, okay, because we've made a conscious effort to educate the masses that it could be better. For how many years will Ghana think that open gutters is the way to go? It's because the person constructing it has been doing open gutters since the 80s. So all you know is open gutters. So do you know that there's actually underground gutters or covered drainage systems that are actually they actually work in other countries, so you don't see big gutter open? Do we know? But anyways, so we have Edward Owusu, who is head of commercial here at 3 Music Network, join us on the show, because he also goes around to engage clients and brands, because he's chasing after their monies, right? So we'll be asking some of these questions to him on what brands think, what brands are looking for, as opposed to what the creative media houses are also trying to churn out, and trying to draw that fine balance between how both brands would want to understand themselves. Eddie joins us via Zoom, so let's get him engaged on there. Eddie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Jay. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Eddie. It's interesting that the boys have given you a name already in here, and it's through no fault of mine. Cyril is insisting that we mention Santo, but we need to let him understand that beard men are handsome men, bearded men with bald head are rich men. Men with hair like ours there is more like So Eddie, it's all good. Eddie, I mean, you are the on a chessboard. I'll say you are the pawn, because you make the first move. After the in-house conversations have been made in engaging these brands. Let me ask you, what are some of these brands, like in this modern day and age, when you have sit-down conversations with brands and trying to draw them to buy into products that media houses churn out or people churn out? What are these brands really looking out for? Is it numbers? Is it just is it idea? What are they really looking out for?
Thanks for having me on Culture Daily. For me,
Eddie,
I think
you work here, so
it has always boiled down to it has always boiled down to numbers for me in all the conversations that you have. But the means to the numbers also sometimes matter, and that also varies from brand to brand. How you get to those numbers also matter, and that's to say, strategy also matters a lot of times when you're thinking about these numbers. So these questions are mostly asked, okay, you want the numbers, but what's the strategy you want to use? And that varies from brand to brand all the time.
Eddie, in the quest for numbers, is it are the conversations around anything like instant impact, 2-day viral, going viral, or long-term, cementing ideas into people's minds? Like, we've had certain brands that over the years, it's because of the consistency in running the ad on a particular channel over a period, they have gotten the numbers they're looking out for. So I'm coming back to you again with some of these brands and what they're looking out for. Is it instant impact, or looking at, a lot of them are looking at long-term relationship with the brands to build new brand partnerships?
Okay, Jay, before I answer that question, I want to answer a question I've not been asked yet. The question that's displayed on your screen, that advertising, has it lost its touch? For me, I'll speak to the Ghanaian market, and I don't think it has lost its touch any day, any time. What has happened over the past few years has been a major distraction because of social media. We are getting used to social media. We've accepted social media as part of the advertising mix. So a lot of times when advertisers are planning now, they are planning for social media. Back to your question.
Mm-hmm.
For the numbers game, the creativity.
Eddie, sorry, can you go back on your answer with has advertising lost its touch, please?
No, it hasn't. I don't think it has. I watch TV and I see some amazing ads. This morning I've seen the ad from Pepsodent, amazing ad. I walk around town, I see some amazing billboards. I've seen some amazing social media campaigns, All these things also, a lot of times also boils down to budget. All the big things that you talk about, Jay, all the great stuff that you see out there boils down to budget. But sometimes you realize that, with the little budget that has been given, you see some brands trying very, very, very hard to make it happen and make it look good. So it hasn't at all. We've actually, what I have been seeing recently is a boom of, creativity when it comes to advertising, trying to do a lot with little. And, that's what I see now. Yeah.
Eddie, so we've seen some, talking about innovative commercials that you made reference to, like, Pepsodent and Co. As opposed to, because we're in a digital age, as opposed to some videos that maybe someone will just shoot. Now people are creating their own adverts for their product because they're influencers. Yeah. You see them, and those videos seem to even go more viral than these well-shot videos. What do you have to say to such situations?
Okay, I have had the benefit to engage a few brand managers, especially from Pepsodent and even an agency that works for Pepsodent. In today's advertising, you just don't look at one platform. You look at a mix including radio, TV, digital, and sometimes print. Even though print over the past years has lost a lot of relevance compared to the other traditional platforms. So you need to consider all of these things. I'll give you a typical example of same Pepsodent to let you understand that they talked about this thing holistically. Whilst doing the great TV commercials that is going to get your attention when you decide to watch TV, they decided to do a smart brand placement in Sarkodie's video, Countryside, which for them is likely to generate some virality when it comes to digital. And I've already seen some conversations around that as well. So for me, it's all of those things coming together in a strategy to give you those final numbers. I'm listening to the brand manager for Unilever, and for him, the main goal for Pepsodent Charcoal this year is to give it that cool factor. So when you have the benefit of the strategy, you get to understand what some of these brands are doing. there will always be bad advertising. There will always be that guy who will have the money and go to a graphic designer to say, Charlie, I have a billboard on the roadside. Design the thing for me. Those are different people. But in the market, there are people who are doing it and doing it right. There are people who are working with advertising agencies to plan for them to go into the insights. Unfortunately, there's little data within this market. There's little data, as we already know. So a lot of these things are done based on speculations and trends and all of that. So I think we are doing well. And other challenges, so many platforms are popping up now. So you always, as a platform, need to find ways to stand out, and you be able to attract some of these advertisers.
Okay, Eddie, hold on right there. Let me just come in-house here and touch base with Lenny and Cyril on this. Eddie raised a point with regards to data and how data, lack of data in this country. How is that also playing a role in how we decide exactly how brands decide which direction to take,
Yeah, data is a challenge. Data is more...
And wait, hold on.
Data.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Don't worry, I have another one for tomorrow, so let's wait for that one. So data is definitely a challenge. It's available on certain parts of the market. More readily available on certain parts of the market than others. On the higher part of the pyramid, on the LSM scale, there's data available because we are more integrated into the systems. We are more integrated into the financial systems, into the housing grid, into the state systems, you name it. But the informal sector, or the lowest parts of the pyramid, it's hard to find accurate data. So a lot of assumption and blanket thinking applies to them, or should I say blanket thinking is applied when dealing with the masses, quote unquote, to use a crude word. And this affects how the communication goes. So when you're doing comms for a brand like Bang & Olufsen, I know where high net worth individuals reside. I know where they leisure. I know where they
all
might
based
bank.
on perception.
Data.
Okay, on data.
I'm saying when I take a brand like Bang & Olufsen, because it's a high scale, upscale brand, I know that the target to buy Bang & Olufsen is a high net individual. So I would know where to sell B&O. And based on the fact that I know who my audience is, I can quickly gather data on those ones, even on my laptop. Because high net worth individuals, they stay in a certain place, they live a certain lifestyle. Odds are they might be driving a car from any of the showrooms, getting it serviced regularly. So let me apply the thinking of Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce doesn't go to auto shows. Rolls-Royce showcases its cars at private jets shows. Because the person who can buy a private jet can buy a Rolls-Royce. And that's easy data. But Toyota has to sell to everybody because you don't know who wants a Starlet and who wants a Land Cruiser. Do you get it? So if you look at Toyota's ads, it's usually a few of them that have their own, a few of the product line that have their own comms. A lot of the ranges in between are just buy a Toyota. So they communicate that Toyota is reliable, is dependable, is efficient, blah, blah. They don't say a Corolla or a Starlet or a Yaris or this because the market for them is so big. Do you get it? But Rolls-Royce can, based on data, can say that, you know what, forget everybody else. We're going to go to the West African private jet fair twice that year, and that's it. And they go and they maximize it. So you have brands like Veuve Clicquot that organize all these polo events and all that. And that's where you activate the likes of Rolex, the upscale brands. But what do you do for the lower pyramid audience? What you do for them is you assume. You take a small selection of that same audience, and then you assume that because it applies to 100 people out of 10 million,
it applies to everybody. But that's when market activations also come in. Because
are they effective? Market activations
are effective.
Market activations for top of mind awareness and for the introduction of products.
And for sales as well, and engagement.
Yes.
That's if you are targeted
usually
at
when
the masses.
Usually when you do an activation.
Okay, well, just one person at a time, sorry.
If you are targeting,
go.
Okay, if you are targeting the masses, right, market activations are good because in the market you can get anybody across board, right, to sell to. So market activations work for sales, for top of mind awareness, for introduction. What's happening this morning for introducing products onto the market, new products onto the market. And when you're doing market activations, it actually helps more with new products
I
also.
agree.
And then everybody else can know about that and then also buy that particular product. Because like I said, you don't know whoever is coming into the market, right? And also depending on the people on ground, like the sales people on ground who are able to sell those products to people
Conversions.
properly. So market activations are also
Hold on,
really
man.
good
Eddie,
when it comes to
let me go to
advertising.
Eddie real quickly. Eddie, let's still stay on the conversation of data. Now, for you who sit at the helm of affairs with regards to commercial services here at 3 Music, we've in recent times, I don't know if Ipsos or Geopol is still active in Ghana. Geopol is active, or Ipsos.
Ipsos.
How easy or difficult is it accessing data, of your own brands or brands you've worked with, engaged in the past before? How easy or difficult is it to be able to access some data, to be able to know who's listening or who's watching you or hearing you out, so you can pitch properly to products and brands? Okay, Eddie, I think your microphone is muted. If you can unmute them, we can hear
So what,
you.
Lenny?
Yeah.
While he's figuring that out, or is he back?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, there, right there. Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think there is Ipsos in the market, and that's what mostly these agencies rely on. But as I said, these agencies are professionals. They understand what they do. So sometimes they go beyond these data to be able to do their own dipsticks in different ways to be able to justify some of the buy-ins that they do. So data for the most recognized one within the market now, I say, is Ipsos, which we all use currently.
Do you by chance have other unconventional ways of acquiring data, for use to pitch?
Yeah, I think the easiest way out now has been social media, because social media is easily measurable. And, a lot of times when you are able to push content on your social media, you are able to make that case, that correlation to say that, my brand is cool enough. My people know the brand. And, you're able to relate that to social media as well. A lot of times when these shows when these live shows like Ultra Daily run, you're also able to pick up some feedback, in the comments. You're able to measure where some people are watching from and all of that. But that is limited data. But, in trying to sell as well, sometimes you're able to make justification with some of these things as well.
Before I come back to you, Eddie, on this, let me throw this question to Cyril and Lenny, and then let me get your also view on this. What is the current industry's, or would it be too vague a question to ask, with what brands, what kind of products from creative houses are brands looking out for now in terms of innovation? What are they looking out for? Are they looking out for the crazy idea, or are they looking out for, don't go too far off, let's do something simple and fly with it,
I think it's the time of disruption, right?
Yes.
They're looking at disruption. They're looking at creativity. Exactly. They want everything that they didn't want maybe 10, 15 years ago. They want that now, but with a smaller budget.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know that, maybe 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, brands had a bigger budget, even cutting across advertising for the commercial models and all of that. But now all of that has gone down, but they are requesting for more, right? And then also, you think that taking it from traditional TV, right, and bringing it onto digital, we'd rather make it cheaper, but that's not the case, right? And it's more daunting because then you have to be more creative, you have to be more disruptive, you have to create top of mind awareness, you have to be more engaging, you have to drive traffic to the brand's account as a creator or as an influencer or whatever. So all of these come into play, and it's a whole 360, I think. Yeah.
I think the reason why brands are constantly using this word disruption is because both agencies and brands have come to that silent agreement or understanding that the industry is stale. The market is stale when it comes to the consumer's attention span. People are either distracted or they've seen it all.
Should we take?
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right.
I handbrake it quickly.
Okay.
They're either distracted or they've seen it all. So how do you penetrate that consumer's mindset? That's why you have to be disruptive. But even in being disruptive, what I've realized is that a lot of the brands don't afford the muscle it takes to be disruptive. Disruption is one of the most expensive ventures you can do as a brand or as an agency, because disruption means taking what is and basically unpacking it and representing it in a new form, right? When Coke Zero did the no gravity, they leveraged on zero sugar and did zero gravity and had the places where did we witness that?
No.
Afro Nation. There was a booth. You take your pictures with the drums, absolutely, and they did it at the Polo Grounds. They've done it at a few other events, right? That is disruption, and even that on that scale is expensive. But to really get the maximization of that disruption, that thing needs to be all across town, upside down traffic lights. Do you get what I'm saying? Bus stops hanging in the air. It needs to be immersive. Disruption needs to be immersive for people to feel like something is out of place. Why is it out of place? Oh, snap. This is why. But if you are being disruptive and your disruption is located somewhere where the masses and the people you are targeting don't get to experience it, no problem with Afro Nation, right? But Afro Nation is not where everybody in Ghana is going to be. So how many people are truly going to experience this immersive disruption you've created? The only way to do that and make sure that everybody from the people out in the mass market to the most refined of the people in Accra experience your disruption is to make sure that it is amplified beyond any reasonable doubt, that everybody feels the disruption in their own way. If I went to a trotro station and there was a trotro floating somewhere or hanging somewhere in some tension strings, no sugar, no gravity, even the most basic person, the most illiterate person would know that something is being said. But if you execute in a demographic that is only upscale, it's either two things. Either you only want that demographic to buy your product, or you don't want to afford the resources to amplify the disruption to everybody. Lots of brands have done disruption in their own way across the world. When Mercedes was looking for, I think they were looking for a software engineer or one of their high positions, they decided to conduct their interviews in one of their fastest AMG coupes. So instead of the office, you send in your CV and everything. I think they were in Munich or somewhere, I might be wrong. Instead of your CV and you go to the office and there's a panel of people, you are on a Zoom call, you sit in the Mercedes, and they get one of the world's best drivers to drift you around the town while you're having the interview. So you're experiencing the AMG, they're advertising it, they've shut down major streets in the town. So even the bystanders are wondering what's going on. You are having the interview, you are being publicized, the brand is getting that viral disruption, it's trending. Multiple things happen when you amplify disruption. But imagine if Mercedes has done that only on one street, and it's only the houses on that street that saw it. Would it trend? No. Would the disruption be viral? No. Would it have a high impact? No. So you have a great idea that has been suffocated due to the fact that not enough resources has been put into it for it to flourish. And that is why when I speak to brands and they want something disruptive, half of the time I'm smiling with you, but my question in the back of my head is, you get the budget.
Okay. Cyril has introduced budgets. Let me come to Eddie with this question on budgets. Eddie, how, I'm very sure that is money is always something that sits on your desk. With the kind of figures that sometimes creative houses would request as opposed to what the brands would offer, are there points where you turn down budgets allocated for advertising on your platforms, not specific to 3 Music, across anywhere you've been or experienced? And why?
For me, I think for budgets, even though there would always be limitation for budgets, the big boys will always take the big budgets. Within the space, those that have proven to build that huge platform, those that have proven to build that huge following, would always have a bigger bargain compared to, probably a new entrant into the market. And that is when you have to be disruptive. That is when you need to be able to find ways to stand out, to be able to prove to these advertisers that, that guy might be giving you the numbers, but I could be giving you the impact. I could be serving you directly to a target audience that you want to speak to. So for me, I've always told my team that budget has never been a problem to me. It has always been a value versus a value conversation. I can always scale down something for you. I can always give you something based on what you will need in terms of your budget. But at the end of the day, I would also let you understand what value you'll be getting out of it. That is something that will be clear, spelled out from the start. Talking about disruption, for advertising now, I also think that a heavy part of that advertising has been now it's a content game. It's a huge content game. So if you are able to offer content to these brands, that has life on multiple platforms to say, okay, it can be used both for TV and social media. You can get attention of an advertiser to say, okay, now beyond TV, this guy is offering me social media as well. And I think for 3Music, for a case study, in 3Music has to do with our early sessions, where we wanted to do content all the same. But at the end of the day, there was a brand in town who was enabling music. There was a brand in town who was putting the spotlight on alternative artists. We went to the brand and told them, okay, we're doing something of this sort. Give us a bit of support, and let's have your J signage just in the filming. And that made sense to the advertiser, because beyond that,
and which company was that?
Behind the scenes, Jameson. Beyond that, they were getting behind the scenes content that was going to be on social media. On the day of the filming, they had people mentioning them as well. So it's different from brand to brand, as I said earlier on.
I was hoping that Black Sherif's big moment of water pouring down on him would have been a sold out idea for PVC pipe companies and all those umbrella and all those things to sell, and the microphone companies. We don't have those brands in Ghana, but it would have been a great idea to have them buy out that moment. Very interesting. But that brings us to the conversation on pitching and trying to be innovative. Do you think that sometimes the ideas that churn out maybe from here, maybe let me use 3Music as a case study because I'm here and it's easier to deal with the backlash here. Do you think that some of the innovations are out of the world, so far off from what maybe the brands can or would want to be associated with? Because I'm imagining telling a brand that I want to pour water on Black Sherif and wet him on the stage with electrical shocks all over him. How will they take it? Do you think some of the ideas are crazy? Because we can really applaud 3Music for, especially the award scheme, for some wild ideas. I think in the first edition or so, Shatter Came From the Sky, or was it that one?
Yeah.
The second edition. Yeah, it came from the sky. Just Eddie, if Eddie can just touch on that before I come to you. Eddie, the ideas that are churned out from 3Music.
So I think for me, as one of the major people who has been behind the commercial, sales for 3Music Awards, I've been with the award scheme for the past 5 years, and I've seen the growth year on year on how advertisers, or let's say brands, have responded to 3Music Awards from when it started. A lot of times, for the kind of productions that we do, for the kind of glitzy stuff that we do, it requires that we do heavy budgets in terms of production. So a lot of times you're looking for that, brand that is willing to go all that length, to be probably a headline sponsor, to take all that headache from you. But a lot of times, you don't have it like that because of different reasons. Because a lot of times, these brands will always tell you about numbers. For us, we've been able to prove the numbers over the period of time in terms of on-air viewership, in terms of direct engagement with our audiences and all of that. But I think it's something that advertisers are warming up to. The conversations has been better than it was before. Now somebody's willing to listen to you because you've been able to create that top of mind awareness for 3 Music Awards over the period, the past 5 years. But what it is now, it's not cheap to put out about awards. In terms of the value that you're also giving out to sponsors, you also have an expectations in terms of how much you want to raise from them. So for the past 4 years, we've been able to raise some revenue from 3 Music Awards, but as we'll say in our terms, we've not been able to hit our targets in terms of the kind of experience we create and how much we intend to raise from the markets for 3 Music Awards.
Interesting. Hold on, Eddie. Let me just get a feedback on that from Cyril. Do you think some of the, and Lenny, you are here, some of the things that maybe 3 Music as a brand put out are overly exaggerated to what the advertiser would want to associate himself with?
No, I don't think so. Because attention is the number one purpose of advertising, right? Assuming your brand or your service is in the dark, advertising's job is to turn on the light and get you the attention. What you do with that attention as a brand is based on what you've already set up. So if 3 Music uses the most over the top, and once it's aligned with your brand values, and it gets the attention you need, how you convert that to either sales or engagement for your brand is totally different. It's a different conversation, because we've had instances where people do a lot of grand advertising, get the attention, and conversion is bad. It's horrible. They don't do any follow-ups with it, right? So 3 Music and the way they've been elaborate in hyper advertising themselves with these grand event activities, water on somebody coming from the sky, all that. That's the stuff of legend. That's what we love to see. Any brand would love to be associated with that wow moment. But post that wow moment, what do you do? Do you get what I'm saying? That is where the journey begins. If it's just wow and your logo is there, J Foley, and that's the end of it, yeah, we'll know that, oh, you had something to do with it. But if that ties in to your brand, to, like Lenny said, to activations, to events, to other creatives that you're going to deploy, then we see the whole value chain forming around that communication.
You see, and I'm happy. I think I've managed to pull all of us to a certain point in agreeing something that we haven't yet found out that we've agreed on. Mm-hmm. And I like that, because in the beginning of the conversation, I was talking about the how advertisers or creatives have possibly downplay the intelligence of the masses. And I'm so happy about some of these elaborate ideas that 3 Music as a brand, and somebody will say we are blowing our own horn. Please let us blow it, done over the years, because when you think of the brand 3 Music, you think of crazy ideas, people who do crazy things, you understand? Through thick and thin during the COVID time, and all. Look at even the marvelous 3 Music Awards performances that was pulled out. You understand? Crazy.
Again,
never done.
Unique.
That was disruption.
Unique. That was disruption.
That was disruption, and that didn't come at an easy budget.
Good.
How many brands would have said, "Here's a blank check, make it happen"?
So, what has been the mindset? And I'm clapping back at some of these brands. Mm-hmm. The mindset of some of these marketing managers and co over all these years. That are we not ready for a disruptive creative space in Ghana? No. And that's the question I'm putting to all three of you.
Jay, you may be ready. You may be ready.
Eddie, please get ready to answer that question for me as well.
Is your budget enough?
No,
you may be ready for the disruption.
We asked that question already. Eddie answered it.
No,
budget.
I know the same thing you're asking.
Eddie said
it's the same thing you're asking.
Eddie said that for a growing brand, an emerging brand, it's value for value. So sometimes it's not about even about all the money. But
not all the time.
That's idealistic.
You can't do value for value all the time.
To make an omelette, you have to pay what an egg costs.
Yes.
There's no other way to make an omelette. You have to pay the price of an egg, or a crate of egg, or even half crate. An egg will be bought before your omelette is done. So if you want disruption on the scale where it has that kind of impact, like what you're talking about with the 3 Music COVID setup, the budget is the budget. Yeah. I cannot meet you in the middle and create 12 different sets.
So let's come to the question I'm asking. Yes. That are the brands not ready for a disruptive market?
I said earlier on that
it's expensive
to the marketers. Yes. To the marketing team of every brand, right? 9 out of 10 times, those marketing teams are not creatives. That is why most of them bring on board or attach themselves to advertising agencies, which are usually 9 out of 10 times full of creatives, right? So from a marketer's perspective, what disruption is conceptual. It's we want something that will shake up the game and get us talkability, get us Toma, get us this, get us that. That is the marketing team. The execution and the actual doing of that disruption falls on the creative team. And that is where the square peg and round hole situations come in. Usually either around how the disruption is executed and what it cost. Marketers have this error of saying that I have 10 CDs. And I want something disruptive nationwide.
Good. Hey,
take it easy.
Okay, all right.
I have 10 CDs. I want something to be disruptive nationwide. This, that. An agency will tell you back that it's not possible. If we're going to do this, we're going to need 100,000. And then you say your budget is only 20,000. That's the best you can do. Again, to make an omelette, you pay the price of an egg. So how then do you want me to make this omelette when you're giving me half the cost of one egg? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is the problem I have faced consistently. I've worked with a lot of brands, a lot of marketing teams, marketing heads, whatever. And majority of those teams are not creative led. Those are strategists.
Okay.
And marketers.
And
all right.
Then again, when that happens,
speak and then I can go to it.
Okay, when that happens where you don't have like a budget that matches whatever the idea in your head is, and then it gets to that point where you're putting pressure on the advertisers, you're putting pressure on the creative people, because now what we have to do is to squeeze in and put whatever disruptive idea you have in mind to use with that little amount of money you have. You get what I mean? Which always never works in the first place. So you see a brand saying, I want XXXXX, right? And then you bring money that is like, again, 30 CDs or 40 CDs for all of those XXXXXs. And then now we are able to execute with what you have, squeeze ourselves, do whatever you want with that budget. And then in the end, the brand isn't happy with what we've done.
Okay.
Now they end up forgetting that the money they put on the table was not enough to be able to properly
but you said
execute
yes
that.
when you said yes, you signed an agreement. But
Yes.
But Jay, brands have a way. If you guys will agree with me, brands have a way of
that's
making
the
you
question.
do
So Jay
what
also,
they
that's
want.
the question I was even
That's what.
asking. I want to go back to that question.
The problem again,
Yes.
for what Jay just said is that there's already 20 agencies that pitched for that same job.
Yeah.
You are one of the 5 who are actually having budget-related
Politics
conversations.
comes into the conversation. Yeah.
Politics coming to the conversations. A human
Relationship
institution.
even.
Relationships coming to the conversation. Work you've done before comes into the conversation. So now that you are at this point, and you know that this disruption they need is going to cost base 100K, and they said they have only 50K. From jump, you know that what you are promising them is not going to be achievable, right? Some agencies will tell you then we can't do it. I've consulted from many agencies where we mid project, we get to budget, and then we call a meeting and they say, Charlie, the way they want to do we not go for execute and we don't want to be associated with it. Many. There are brands that do that. There are agencies that are comfortable to do that. But there are agencies who also need that bottom line at the end of the month. So they will take the 10 CD for the 100 CD job. And then the quality of the disruption, the execution, the follow-up is mad.
Okay. Eddie, let me get a reaction from you on this so far. I was asking about the you guys made the question even skip me. You've answered so many things that you made the question. Eddie, let's hear from you though.
Okay. So for me, I think they got me wrong on the budget bit. For me, the things that I consider are things that I can control. If it's a third party, there is no way I'm going to compromise the budget. For airtime, for instance, you and I know airtime is something I can control. There are brands that I have compromised to get a foot in the door. 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, they are probably one of your big spenders. So in those cases, yes, you can look at them. But things that are going to compromise production in terms of things that I don't control, those are things that you normally don't touch. For me, I think one other thing that we're also failing to look at, it's also economic factors. In my dealings, the first thing that every organization will cut, we advertising and marketing bills when there is economic hardships or something within the town. And for the past 1 year and getting into this year, we've seen heavy, uncertainties when it comes to, the economy. So a lot of times, last week, for instance, I was having this conversation with one guy from this agency, like, Charlie guy, the market's so uncertain. Last year, for instance, when there was that uncertainty in the beginning, a lot of people decided to hold on to their budgets. But 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line, they decided to, okay, now there is a bit of direction, so we decided to spend. So a lot of time, these also play a huge factor in the things that we do in terms of the economic factors. You also need to be well aware it plays a huge role when it comes to these people spending, because advertising is the first point of cut, in marketing. If the goods are in the pot and he can't clear it, he doesn't spend on advertising.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was asking with regards to the fine line between the why does this keep skipping me? The
ATL, BTL, is that what you want to ask?
the man, you guys have really taken this out of my
Let's clap. Maybe
siphoned it from your brain.
You siphoned, but no, I had asked a question earlier on that we drifted off, But anyway, I'll come to that.
Was it related to Three Music Awards?
Yeah, I was talking about the space of. I think I was talking about the space of a beautiful idea to. I don't know. I had made a reference
and
to
I
that.
answered with budget, blah blah blah. You're asking that does the marketing department?
Yes. So is Ghana ready from your dealings? Would you say Ghana, the creative space, the Ghanaian creative space, or the spenders are ready to actually meet up, or there's still that rift? Those shallow waters or rather deep waters that have to be filled up, because it looks like we have a bunch of creative people, a lot of people ready to churn out crazy ideas, but the people to power it in terms of spend for these things to be seen and amplified have different opinions with regards to the ideas that are being shared. So we don't see very wild, innovative, campaigns running. We see very low budget, cheap, simple, and then the sharp minds are sitting back saying that, look at this ad, this is like a useless ad. How did it even make it onto TV? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying and what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I get you, Jay. Unfortunately, the marketing advertising budget, it's quite small. I think the data we've been working with for the past 5 years is about $300 million in terms of advertising spent in a year. So it's quite small. In terms of, the big spenders, a lot of times for brands that are able to take on big productions like Three Music Awards are these global brands that, that are looking to probably have that global resonating effect with their brands and all of that. Unfortunately, we've seen a few of them within the space, as well. But bottom line, Three Music Awards would always be a commercial event. For us, from the beginning, the strategy was to get attention of advertisers and marketers using the great ideas that we had to be able to be disruptive. And I think you should give it to us. Just under 5 years, we have been able to create that top of mind awareness for somebody to say, yo, guys, come, let's sit around the table and let's see the possibilities of this. And that is something that takes a long time to be able to achieve. So for me, I have the great conviction that we will have that brand that will see into it. We've worked with some amazing brands in the past 5 years who are still with us. We've worked with HB Plus in the past year. We've worked with Pernod Ricard. We've worked with a number of them that I can't recollect. That are still supporting us. But I know the conversation is centered around that big budget for you to be able to do those big things, which we are known for.
Yeah,
you get me. Yeah, sure. But it takes time sometimes, to be able to get these big brands that will decide to put all their marketing budgets for the whole year behind an awards like Three Music Awards.
Well, Eddie, I'll have to let you off now. Thank you very much for being a guest with us this morning on the show. We truly appreciate it. Our time is almost far-fetched, but I'll leave the rest of the convo in the team in-house here as well. Thank you so much. Eddie is our head of commercial here. If you need to have that commercial conversation, adverts and all, come through and have a convo with Eddie here. Before we continue though, so Jameson is calling out to Ghanaians to widen the circle and celebrate Ghana in grand style at this year's Jameson Connect. Now the 2023 edition, which is themed Share in the Spirit of Freedom, will come off on Saturday the 4th of March, 3 p.m. prompt at Ground Zero, the main car park behind Marina Mall, if you know that place, for those of you who are in Accra. who would know. Now, the Jameson Connect 2023 will feature in variety of exciting activities like fashion, poetry, art, interactive exhibitions, food stalls, games, and much more, including music performances from R2Bs, Joey B, Darko Vibes, among others. Now, if you want to register for this event, it's very simple. Go to jamesonwhiskey.com, all right, JAMESON, then whiskey.com, and fill in the details. Now you receive an email confirmation that you need to show at the gate to get an all-access entry to Jameson Connect. The event is free to adults 18 years and above only. All right, Lenny.
Now, speaking of gatherings and all of that, there's going to be a Kinky gathering on 4th of March. It's called Kinky Fest. It's happening at Manche Agbona, right? Manche Agbona, if you don't know, it's in Accra. It's in central part. Manche Agbona.
Agbona.
Yeah, no, if you go and stand there and say Agbona, nobody will direct you there. Agbona. So it's the Kinky Fest. This is their 4th edition, actually. So you can, if you want to be a vendor, you can contact them on 0573 80 59 66 or 0242 051127. For general inquiries, you can contact 0555 494568 or 0246 241 733. Let me just run over that again. Vending inquiry 0573 80 56 66 and then 0242 051127, and then general inquiry 0555 494568 or 0246 241 733. And Three Music is going to be a partner on this one, so I think we should go and eat some cake. It's really good. It comes with a lot of things. So and then lastly, wait. Whitney Boache is celebrating her birthday today. So happy birthday to Whitney Boache. And
have you heard of the biggest event happening tonight?
No, what event?
You guys haven't got the invitations?
No.
The biggest event happening tonight.
What's happening tonight?
Around 9 p.m.
Jay is asleep.
Yeah.
On your bed.
I knew it.
I'll go.
We'll be there.
We'll be there too.
We'll be there. Sharp. Sharp.
Anyways. All right, it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a great convo on here on Three Music Network's Culture Daily. This one we're talking about advertising, and hope you've had a lot of impact with regards to the things discussed here. But the big question that we'll always still ask is that disrupt, and that question I was asking you guys still hasn't gotten the answer. Today's day and age, the creatives are yearning to pour out crazy ideas, but the financiers are holding back on their spend. Will we ever get to a point where we'll tune into TV? And that final thing I'll ask you, what was the most innovative campaign that you have experienced within the past 2 or 3 years in Ghana that you might go wild to? Please don't speak on things you're part of. I know, Cyril.
I was going to say that. I got to shut up now.
Yeah. Or ideas, whether it was advertised or not, a campaign it could be. One of the brilliant ones that I think within the past, say, 5 years, say television for me was the Yellow series. Okay. I think it was a good spin-off of the Things We Do for Love. I applaud the organizer. I would have come to lead, but I don't want to talk about things we've done. That's why I said let's take it out.
Ivan Kwashiga. Yeah.
So I applaud Ivan Kwashiga for being disruptive, for being and I think I don't know if Eddie Sedo was part of the writing of YOLO. Yes, and all the writers behind there. I think it was disruptive. It was crazy. It was nice. Anything you've heard within the past couple of years?
You said I shouldn't mention, so
anything that he's involved in.
Okay, please.
I think we can. Okay, no, but that one we were sort of involved in it. If you want to look at the Corona beer, but he said he shouldn't do things.
We can't hear you.
Corona beer. There's this thing that they did that I don't know if they bought the space, but they changed everything to Corona.
Took a Bola beach and turned it into paradise.
Where?
Spectacular. Close to Sandbox. Close to Sandbox.
Sandbox and next to Ozzy's.
Yeah. That's actually when I got in there. I was really surprised because everything from their furniture to everything. Every single thing was branded, and that was a good one because that beach, that side between Sandbox and then there's another beach there, Rehab. That place was, dejected for a really long time. So for that to have happened, that's actually really good.
Well, let me also date it back. Any other ones that you've experienced, way back before we wrap out of here? We have about 2 minutes more.
A couple of years back, a campaign that I I'm happy to see on our audience is Heaven Mosquito, the range. You know, they have Heaven the Abakope. Yeah, I love that because it
watch you.
Yeah, you are right to watch me like that. It communicates the essence of the brand and of what Heaven is as
Peter
well.
Obi.
In earnest, right?
Yeah, and then
Obi.
it's lasted. I think it's about 3 or 4 years ago
Serialistic.
that we brought that out. But
What this
it's
kind of
stuck to-
it was innovative.
And then one that has lasted.
he has chopped the money. You are telling me he's innovative.
Oh, he was on it, eh?
He's
If we are
telling you
talking
what
about
he was-
another very
he was
disruptive
doing.
campaign, then we'll talk about how small phones started getting called yams. That drop
Yeah.
that yam campaign,
Insult
that was
did well
crazy.
with that.
Yes. They did so
But,
well with that. And
I
to
think they
date, people
amplified because
refer
we always
to
reference those phones as by
yes,
but
yes,
they took it
yes.
into
But
a
bigger
new
space
level.
and-
Let me-
And then
let me-
to date, we still
Let
refer
me
to
throw
those small
Gary.
phones
Let me throw
as
Sammy or
yams. So-
Gary. Minsaka.
Yes, that one as well.
MTN. Right.
MTN, yes. The Momo. When Momo was first,
Was fresh.
when it was early days, that phrase alone
Yeah.
communicate before the ad started.
Let me finally end with let me say a kudos going out to Nana Kwame Osei Sapong and the Yard and Foreign crew back in the day at YFM, where on Wednesday nights they took young Gen Zs to employed and unemployed young Gen Zs to this beach, Tawala Beach, to create one of the most beautiful midweek nights that you could ever have in Accra by the beach. And let me say kudos to the team that pulled that off as well. And on that note, to all the creatives in Ghana who are making things happen, all the TikTok influencers who are doing crazy videos, go and check out Lenny Lomote and her 31 affirmations that I have commented on almost all
Yeah, I
of
have a
them.
birthday.
Yes, please go ahead. Our time is up.
Happy birthday to Phyllis. Phyllis Kisi is celebrating her birthday today. So big shout outs from the
Phyllis.
Culture Daily. Phyllis.
Phyllis.
Like Feliz Navidad.
Phyllis, eh?
Yes.
And I think we are going to show Whitney's picture, Whitney Bache. We already wished her happy birthday, but she's a part of the 3 Media team. So yes, Whitney, happy birthday from us.
I want to add
to
all
you.
yes,
Can I add it to the
Again.
single and available?
No, please don't add her. Don't add her. She's not single and available. She's very married.
Hey, I can't- as
Thank you
production
very
just-
much.
wait.
And also shout out
Production
to
just made me
Russell
deaf.
as well. Russell Annie, hi, shouts to you, Russell from Intel Advertising.
Production just made me deaf. She's married.
Okay, she's married.
What did I do?
All right, so the following ladies at 3 Music networks are free and single. And on
Yeah.
that note, if you're on the list, follow us on our platforms as we'll put and tag them as well. They are yours forever. We are out.